Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Juan Londoño. Today's topic, a simple one and something that's almost never covered in photography classes. Where do we stand? Ansel Adams used to say, a good photograph is knowing where to stand. Most people, even some seasoned photographers, what we end up doing most of the time is that we walk around, we see something we like, something pretty, a nice view, whatever. We raise our camera, raise our phone, whatever's in our hand, and we take the picture. Done. I might even go a step further to argue with you that the amount of people that do this follow the Pareto Principle. I love that principle. It applies to so many things in life and in nature. And I'm willing to bet that 80%, at least 80% of the people take photographs this way. So what do the other 20% do? Well, you remember that song from the 80s, Eye of the Tiger? From the Sylvester Stallone movie, Rocky? Well, that's basically what they do. They adapt the eye of the tiger. And you see in documentaries how tigers and lions, right? Big animals of prey kind of like sneak around and they're looking everywhere, right? They're not just looking for food, they're looking to make sure nobody's behind them, right? So they're looking all around, looking for that best spot where they're going to head. And that's it. That's what we have to do. We have to develop this clinical eye. And once we have our vision set on a particular spot, then our feet have to do a little walking. We have to go there. Because this is not just about zooming in. We're not talking about seeing something we like to photograph and going there to photograph it. No, you can do that with a zoom lens. I'm talking about looking around, right? Where am I going to take a picture of this waterfall here on the left? Am I going to stand here or am I going to go walk over 15 paces and shoot it from there? That's what I'm talking about, right? And that requires a little vision, right? A little panning and some vision, and then walking over, setting up, and taking the picture. And I'll even say something else. Having this forward vision, right, this clinical eye, I should say, involves a little forward vision. That's what I meant, right? Having this clinical eye, this eye of the tiger, whatever you want to call it, involves a little forward vision. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you see a picture you like, and you stand there, and you're about to snap it, and then it occurs to you, wait a minute, maybe this picture would be better if something else changed. Maybe if I wait for a person to walk by, it'll be a better picture. Now in this particular picture, I was getting ready to take it, and I think I did, I took a picture, and then I realized that, well, let me take it because I don't know if anybody's going to show up, but let me wait. And I waited about 20 minutes. My wife was walking around, patiently waiting for me. She's good about that. We were in New York City, so there's a lot to look at, a lot of cool things to see. And she was just in the, in the side skirts, right? Walking around. And I was waiting for somebody to walk, not from the left to the right, because that would have been okay, but it wouldn't have been as dramatic. I wanted somebody from the right to the left. And it had to be somebody that wasn't close to me. It had to be somebody that was close to the wall to give it that effect where that person is close to the eagle or the eagle is about to snatch them up. So you see, there was a little forward vision there, right? It's not just where do I stand to take this picture? Do I stand at an angle? Do I shoot from below to make it seem, like something of grandeur? Do I go up high and shoot low? Or am I good here? Just maybe I have to wait for somebody to come by. So Ansel Adams was completely correct. To take a great photograph, we have to ask ourselves a bunch of questions. We have to ask questions like, what camera do I use? What lens do I use? What film do I use if I'm going to take film with me, right? What other gadgets do I need to take? What bag do I take? What lights do I use? The cool thing is, as photographers, as human beings, forget photographers, as human beings, we're incredibly capable of answering questions without formally asking them. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm about to go on a shoot, right? And I have to go upstairs and grab a few things. I don't sit there and say, Juan, what bag am I going to take? What camera? I got 4 cameras there. My street photography camera, my clothes. No. Basically what I do is I go upstairs, I grab the bag that seems more appropriate. I grab the camera that seems more appropriate. I grab the 2 or 3 lenses that seem more appropriate. The tripod that seems right. And I just do these things. I'm answering a bunch of questions without really asking them. The trick here is to be fully aware of our options, right? So we don't miss anything. And if we don't do that, then what we're doing is we're becoming robotic, right? Like when you drive somewhere, you don't know how you got there. You get there and you go, I don't remember driving here. Oh my gosh. That's robotic. You're letting your subconscious take over. You're programmed to do certain things because you've done them so many times. And you don't want to fall into that category. Basically, we'll leave that to automation and artificial intelligence, right? We want to put our mind to use when we think about these things. And the easiest way to do that is to create a checklist, right? We've created checklists for other things like traveling. My friend used to have this really cool checklist, and whenever he traveled, he'd make like 4 or 5 copies and he'd keep them around. He'd grab one of the things and he'd go toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, right? Like underwear, socks, because you don't forget anything. I've gone on trips, things that you say, how can I forget socks? I have them on, I had to put them on for the trip. I got everything else. How did I forget to take socks for a 5-day trip? Not a big deal, you can go buy them, but now you got to take time to go to a store, to go to a mall, whatever, to buy socks, right? So the best thing to do is get a little checklist and check off, right? It could be a generic checklist or it could be specific. For example, I'm going on a landscape shoot. I have a checklist for that. I'm going on a flower photography shoot. I have all that, a checklist for that. My little water bottle to make the flowers look wet, right? Like it rained, a little dew on them. So these are the kind of things that we can really avoid, these situations where we forget something or we end up taking the wrong gear just by having a little checklist. But the main topic of the video is just knowing where to stand, right? The checklist is all that stuff is extra. Knowing where to stand, right? So when we come up on a scene, when we come up on a person, we always assume that we have to be standing in front of them. I do it all the time. And if we're slightly creative, we'll tell the person to turn a little, right? But now they're posing, right? They turn and they're looking at you, and you have to tell them, no, turn and then look over there, right? How about if instead of doing that, you catch them off guard and you walk around them and you catch them from the side, looking where they're normally looking, doing what they're normally doing with their hands, and you grab them from the side. It's a little more natural, right? A little more realistic. So that's all I'm saying. You come up on a beautiful landscape, don't just do what everybody else does, right? Ask yourself, look around and say, is this the best place to stand? Should I be higher, lower? Can I go over there? Should I hide behind some, flowers so that the scenery is prettier? That develops a nice foreground for the picture. Always ask yourself, where do I stand? Because remember, Ansel Adams said it best. His quote is, a good photograph is knowing where to stand. And if you've seen his documentary, if you've read his books, you know that he spent a lot of time doing that. He would see a beautiful scene. Yeah, he could take out his camera and shoot it, right? But he was shooting large format film, which is, you don't carry a lot of that around with you because it's heavy. So he would analyze the situation and say, you know what, this is pretty, the sky's nice, but the sky could be better if I wait another hour or two. In the meantime, I'm going to walk around the other side because then I get that other hill that I'm not getting from here. And that's the kind of stuff he thought about. And some of it is you're taking a risk. What if you get there and it's not as great of a shot? Or what if you get there and it starts raining, right? That happens. So anyway, I think you get the point. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I just want to end kind of like a conclusion or summary, whatever you want to call it, by saying that knowing where to stand is really part of the composition process. And this is the part that I'm talking about nobody ever speaks of, right? They speak of leading lines. You want to take a picture that has leading lines, a picture with, negative space, a picture with, odd subjects, 3 or 5, right? But where do you stand? What if I'm looking at a group of people and I see 2 people because if I walk around this way, there's a third one hiding behind one of the others. So it's knowing where to stand. Many times, you're not going to get leading lines unless you're standing next to some railings or street lines, right? On the street, traffic lines. You have to look for these things. So it's all about where to stand. It's just that nobody ever talks about it this way, right? If I see a really pretty building and a person walking across, yes, I can take the picture. Or I can go right here by this railing and take the picture where the railing leads me up to that person crossing the street and that building. Bam! I had to know to stand there instead of here in the middle of the street. That's all I'm saying. We have come to the end. I forgot my water again. I forgot to share it with you so that you can get motivated and get hydrated. Anyway, you're all big adults, whatever, responsible. Go drink your water, go drink something good. And we will catch up in the next video. I hope this was useful. I hope it was entertaining at least, right? A little bit of good information. Love you guys. Please stay healthy. We'll catch up next time. In the meantime, ciao for now.